To ask
Right? Exactly.
y'all right quick, how did y'all feel where this Black Widow movie that just came out? How did y'all feel about that one?
You
Go
want to
ahead.
start solo?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Boy,
I
I,
mean,
I can start if you want me to.
I was about to
for
say
sure. Go
whoever
ahead.
y'all go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was about to say,
So
bro.
for for me, was it worth the wait? No. I wish they would have brought it out last year. I
Yeah.
understand why they didn't, but I just like just for Disney Plus, like if they would have did it like in the very beginning of the pandemic, like April, May, they would have got their money. They'd have been cool. So was it worth the wait? No. But I do understand what the movie was for. The
Mm-hmm.
movie was for us to kind of get a glimpse of what her past was about. Like, because then again, we're kind of bringing back up Loki, but in Avengers, when he said Draco's daughter, that was the very first thing that we heard. And then now with Black Widow, you're like, okay, this was particularly why she kept saying she had blood in her ledger. She's not talking about everybody else that she killed as a Black Widow. She's mainly talking about the daughter who she thought she killed.
Mm-hmm.
And what this movie was really supposed to do was just be like, okay, this movie is taking place right after Civil War. This movie is going to do about Natasha's backstory, and at the same time, I feel like the number one thing they were trying to do was basically set up the Hawkeye series because
Mm-hmm.
of the way how the post credit scene came about. It's setting up the Hawkeye series.
Definitely
I'm
that.
gonna say this though. I'm gonna say this. Even though it wasn't worth the wait, I still enjoyed the movie. I
Right.
still enjoyed it. A lot of people was like, "Nah, man, it was trash." A lot of people was like, "Nah, I didn't like it. It sucked." I watched it and I'm like, "Nah, this was good." I enjoyed every moment of it.
For real.
Yeah.
What about
That
you,
that's kind
Solo
of how
man?
that was like. That's like my initial feeling of it. When I go back and rewatch it again, I'm be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, there's a few things that I missed," but overall, great movie, great story because we can now see what she can do without the Avengers' help, without Stark, without Cap, and it kind of helps set up how Cap got everybody out of that prison.
Yeah.
And for the like I said, for the most part, it's setting up Hawkeye, and we're still trying to figure out who the hell Val is.
Right. Right. It's like we don't know if she Lady
Yeah.
Hydra. We don't know where she's supposed to be. The Thunderbolts. You know what I'm saying? We don't know where she's supposed to be. Exactly. But she's popping up everywhere. Like it's like damn. Like
Yeah.
so Solo. What you think about this movie, bro? What you think about it, bro?
Yeah, but same. I there was a couple things. Yeah, they did definitely wait a long time to release it.
Mm.
I did personally like the movie. Um, I liked everything I like about it. One thing that actually that kind of caught me, I also believe outside of like the Marvel standpoint, it also brought about like awareness for women and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. I see how they like, because it kind of seemed like it was like women abuse slash like sex trafficking in the beginning. So I
Yeah.
feel like they kind of raised awareness for that, and it's like it was really like a woman power like a woman empowered movie, like the whole thing, because everybody was like complaining about Taskmaster being a woman and whatnot, and I get why they did it. I do wish we would have had a different Taskmaster. Like I think it would have been more woman power or girl power, whatever you want to say, if Taskmaster did have a different backstory and was a man and they beat him. Um, because it would have been like, oh, like you beat this. I also want to see, because I do like Taskmaster, especially as a villain. I wish that we would have seen more of the mimic fighting style. We only kind of seen it the first fight when they did the jackknife at the same time and was like looking at each other, blah blah blah. So I mean, there was just little pizza, like just little parts of that. The Red Guardian he was kind of wasted a little bit, in my opinion. I feel like he was more like just like the father figure for them, because they really did assume that he was their role model that kind of failed them in a way, and he realized that. So I mean, like it was just little parts like that was kind of interesting. The action was pretty cool. Um, but again, it was kind of just to get rid of Scarlett Johansson, pretty much. I feel like, and to bring on the new Black Widow, which was her sister in the comics, was cool. And like you said, setting up for the next, setting up for Hawkeye. So, it was cool, man. I definitely watched it again. I just wish that they would have had, like, when bringing in because you have to think about it, bringing in a new villain. Again, I get why they did it, but I feel like it would have been dope to actually have like original Taskmaster or like a different backstory and have it be somebody that she encountered, not really like was behind, like, you know what I'm saying, like not really like knew the whole time, but found out like, oh, this is what it is. So that was my only thing about it, but it was good. So yeah, it was no really big complaints. I give it a decent score.
Yeah, bro. Because
That was deep though.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
we can't all agree that they definitely waited way too late to make this movie, knowing that she was the first Avenger
Yeah.
of this whole Marvel universe. Like, it's crazy when you look back on Iron Man 2, and it's like, it seemed like they was building up this character where she can possibly get her own movie. Like, we was saying she's one of the original 5. She can at least get, we were saying like possibly a show, but at that point they wasn't even talking about shows. At that point it was just movies. So it was like you had to get your original 3 with Cap and Iron Man, obviously, of course Thor. So it's like, I feel like I understand the way why it was like they didn't go to Black Widow right then, but it's like they know they definitely messed up on that now. Where it's like they trying to fix up them mistakes with her character. But it's like, even when she was first introduced, it's like there's different versions of Black Widow. It's like the assassin version, more from the Red Room, where it's like when she was interacting with more of the Defenders and all like that, like with Matt Murdock and the Punisher and all like that, or Nick Fury, like
Right.
before they actually became like the Shield that we know of now, like, because Nick Fury have a lot of dark secrets too about him too, you know what I'm saying? And they just, you know what I mean? So that's definitely some things I feel like they just kind of just left out with some of the characters. But in terms of like the movie in general, like, I'm actually glad she got her own movie, because it's like she's really like the only one I feel like she haven't got her own. She's like, she plays a part in each of these main characters in these movies. Like, she's been part of Winter Soldier and the Iron Man movies, but it's like she never really got her own shine. It's like the fact that she got it after she already been killed off is kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like they're just trying to piggyback on most of this stuff now. But I feel like what the cool thing what I feel like they're doing about this is like, because at first I was like, I don't know about these new characters they just bringing in, because I'm like, how they going to connect to all this? But it's like, if you look at this new character, Yelena, bruh, this is how they should have made Black Widow from the very beginning, bruh. Like, this is how they should have made her from, like, the get-go, bruh. It just, the way it just going all based off this Marvel Universe, how they try to start Phase 1, it was like, I feel like they wasn't trying to go that dark in terms of, like, her character and like that. I feel like that's why they were just trying to bring her in through, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. and, like, she just doing side missions for Nick Fury and like that. I feel like they just went that route with her. But it's like, if you look at how Yelena was in this whole movie, bruh, it's like, bruh, this is how Natasha should have been through this whole phase, bruh. This is how they should have introduced her. But it's like, damn, bruh. But I do like the new characters on here. But in terms of the Red Guardian dude, in terms of this movie, he seemed like he was a pointless character in this movie. But going forward, because you remember like how he brings up, this is something I definitely want to talk to y'all about. He brings up a fight that he fought Captain America, right? And he took the shields from him. But he said this was in 83, 84, though. But you remember at this point in time, Cap was frozen in ice, though. So it's like, I don't believe he's lying about that fight. I believe he could have been fighting like somebody that could have been like, it could have been like a Loki could have acted like he was a Cap. It could have been something. It could have been somebody that's like, or he kind of like thought like this person was Captain America. Somebody with a shield. Or somebody like, and if it was at the 80s too, like, there definitely had to be more super soldiers around at that time too. So I'm like, I wonder who was that he actually fought, because I'm like, I don't know if it could have been Cap. He could have been like a super soldier. He probably thought it was Captain America. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could have been a super soldier. He just assumed it was just Cap because he was an American. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause he seemed like he just like one of them obvious type of rushes. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, that's all I was thinking. I'm like, what if they actually show like if he actually did go up against like. Because I'm like, it's no way they'll bring a Red Guardian in. Like, if you going to bring in John Walker or show some history behind him, you ain't going to just bring Red Guardian and not show no history with him either, bro. I know they going to definitely show some more with Red Guardian going forward. I don't know if it's going to be when they could put the Thunderbolts together. Like, because it seemed like they're going to try to put... It seemed like Yelena played some type of part of it, it seemed like. where it's like she used to work for Val or seem like, cause she already knew who she was when she walked up to the tombstone after she visited Natasha's grave and all like that. So it was like, that's why I had me kind of confused too. But now I've seen she's connected to this Hawkeye show. It's like, I think it could be her trying to look for Hawkeye, and that's where Kate Bishop will end up probably fighting her. You know what I'm saying? Or it'll be like, because I think Hawkeye's still the Ronin at this point still. So it's like, he still could be on the run, still fighting other like people that's probably, you know what I'm saying, looking for retribution. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where Kate Bishop will probably come in, and she'll try to fight off probably Yelena or like the other people that's trying to look for Hawkeye. So yeah.
That was the main thing I was looking at too, was when he was talking about that fight in the 80s, because I really forgot about, like, when he was doing the arm wrestling. I was like, damn, dude is just beating everybody. But then I had to think about it. I'm like, oh, that's right. He had to have had the serum at some point, because in the beginning when he tossed the crate.
Right, yeah.
Because I was like, yo, like, dude is hella strong. So then my question was, I'm like, okay, is it possible that General Ross had something to do with even giving him part of the serum as well? Like, did General Ross have something to do with this as well? Because he's the only one that really had a good serum to be given out. That's why you see him in Abomination. He was like, okay, dude had the abilities, but he was just greedy and wanted more, which turned him into Abomination. Because General Ross had it. Like, that's the whole thing. General Ross technically had it.
Yeah, bro, General Ross is the reason why everybody is the Hulk, bro. Like, he's the really main reason why everybody is the Hulk, even Bruce. Like, because he was trying to hide the research and all like that from him. Because, like he said, he was trying to create super soldiers and like that. When he knew Bruce knew all the information, he was trying to take it from him to a point where Bruce had to go out the way. But the experiment went wrong, where he ended up turning to it himself. So it was like, bruh, he's for sure to blame of all of this, bro. And it's crazy. Like, if he turns to Red Hulk, that would be perfect how this can all end with most of all these Hulk characters. It's like, bro, he's the reason how this even started in the first place, bro. He's the reason why Bruce was on the run in the first place.
Yeah. That's what I'm like, look, the dude who's playing General Ross, he's not getting any younger. You got to make him Red Hulk now.
Right?
Gladly we got CGI, right? Because I'm like, boy, that wasn't the case, bro. You better throw him in that suit or something now, or do some CGI work, bro. Because, man, like you said, bro.
Right? That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, for a Black Widow, like I said, there were some questions up in there, because I'm like, okay, who? Like, he said it happened in ¡83, and he was like, yeah, but Cap was an icicle at that point. I'm like, that is true.
Right.
But there would be no reason for him to lie, especially even right now. He can break out of jail.
Right.
If, like, at any given point. He can definitely do that. So I'm like, there's really no need for him to really be lying. So, like you said, who did he fight back in the 80s?
Yeah,
Could it have possibly actually been Bucky?
Look, there was three, if you remember, there was three super soldiers in the 80s at this time. Because now, I don't know for sure that he going to count him in, but if you remember, that black super soldier was still there. It was Bucky. And if you remember, even Bucky said there were still other super soldiers that was an experiment on, and you don't know if Zemo or anybody else put them out there to do any like unfinished missions for them. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't know any other super soldiers that's out there. You know what I mean? We just know about at least the main ones that they introduced in terms of us on camera and stuff like that. But they even put it out there was even more super soldiers that was like, there were clones of them or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about also because Bucky was doing missions for what? He was doing missions for 50 years, pretty much. And 70 years, actually. No, 50 years. Heck, only partner score. And then those super soldiers, that he was partnering with, we never know. I mean, pretty much that was Hydra. Red Guardians, Soviet, they had these, and then obviously America, you had what's his name again? What was my dude's name?
Is it Isaiah?
Yeah, Isaiah.
Like,
I mean, we just, we don't know where he could have fought somebody, And then again, like there was other super soldiers around, and I mean, pretty much when we find out in Falcon and Winter Soldier is that, well, pretty much from Civil War to Falcon and Winter Soldier is there's been versions, whether it's
completely like 100%, or if it's just even semi of the actual, because I feel like there was some serums that worked better than others. Like obviously, like some were, I feel like, mastered. I feel like others like that were just manufactured. You know what I'm saying? Where only worked a certain like say like not to perfection. You know what I'm saying? But at this point, I feel like it's all been recycled around. Like anybody could have it. Like obviously, the Soviets got it, America had it, Hydra had it. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what other type of, countries or secret organizations had it as well.
Right.
So, and then we find out in Falcon and Winter Soldier that the scientist dude who was working for whoever had it as well, and then the freaking Carly Morgenthau, she stole it with, the other, whatever, the freaking Black Flags or freaking Flag Smashers, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So at this point, man, it's really like anybody can have it, bro. Especially secret organizations. So,
Yeah, they just introduced that one, boy.
that theory comes.
Yeah, bro.
It kind of brings up a theory that I got.
Yeah.
So hear me out on this theory. So we know the serum has been out since at least the 40s.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least the 40s. We got that. Fast forward 40 years later, when what's his name? Red Guardian?
Red Guardian.
Greg Guardian.
Yeah, Red Guardian. My bad. So fast forward 40 years later with Red Guardian, and he's saying that he fought Captain America. we do think that it's not actually the Captain America, but it is a super soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be possible that there was an ongoing war at the time, and what the government did was, do what they do, experiments upon people, and only a very few select people knew about them, henceforth Isaiah. He wasn't in the 80s, but he was somebody who was experimented on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yep.
they were like, okay, then they locked him up in jail. Nobody knew about him. And I wouldn't be surprised if the people who did know about him were executed because of their knowledge about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, looking to the 80s, could it have been that there was a super soldier who was trying to take on the mantle of Captain America, and he was only on some select missions, probably by himself, or maybe like one or two people within his squad, right? So then it comes down to where it's like, you know what we're fighting for in this war is wrong. We're gonna, I'm gonna go back to the colonel and I'm gonna shut this down. So in the process, him and his two people, or him just by himself, tries to go to war within his own ranks. They somehow shoot him, kill him, do whatever. But at the same time, he was able to destroy whatever serum that they had to make super soldiers. And now fast forward to General Ross. He's trying to recreate it because it was already within the military, but because he grew up in the ranks, he's like, okay, we're going to go ahead and do this now because remember, this was like maybe 20 years later, 20 plus. He's going to be in there. He's going to be like, okay, I was there like 20, 30 years ago when all this was going down. And I'm now the one who has to take on the whole, I got to try to recreate this serum as best I can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why Red Guardian is like, yeah, I did fight against Captain America. He's not lying, but it's a different version of him. It's not Captain America. It's more so the government was basically pulling in Isaiah. Nobody knew about him. We killed him off. There's no records of him whatsoever.
Yep.
Right. Cause
So that's what I'm thinking it is.
Yeah, cause he said he took his shield and threw him out the window. I'm like, that won't sound like something that Steve Rogers ain't gonna just let you just do. I don't really know. I mean, so far we've seen Rogers.
Right.
We definitely haven't seen nobody do that. Probably besides Bucky. Probably the only person that can validate that is Bucky. But anybody else, I don't know. That's all I was just like, I don't know for sure. But I ain't gonna lie in that.
Exactly.
In terms of that movie, it's like there was two things I definitely had two problems with because they've been talking about this Budapest ever since. I can go back to even when they first introduced Black Widow, they brought up Budapest, even the first Avenger. So it's like, it seemed like any cameo or appearance with Black Widow or Hawkeye, they always tease it.
Bring up Budapest every time.
Right. So it's like, and it's like even this movie, they try to tease you of like, they went to Budapest and all like that, but it's not necessarily with, like, I'm thinking they about to do like the flashback of the story. Like they did, but it's like they didn't necessarily show, like, they just showed her basically in the car and all like that. It was, I just feel like I feel like for them to build this up all the time, not necessarily show, like, give us some, like, what was she was talking about based off, like, this Budapest, like, situation. Like, it must have been that big if they was going to be teasing this whole time. So I'm like, it definitely played a part up in terms of this movie, but I'm like, in terms of how they was building this all up since this, all the way that first Avengers, like, for instance, how they built up how Cap was basically being worthy of the shield. Like, at first, like, him basically trying to pick it up, like, they was building that whole thing up, and now you see how it was in Endgame, like, that was worth the wait. You know what I'm saying?
Like it was nothing.
That's all I'm saying. That's why I'm like, for them to build this up to phase one to see how it's put in this moment, I'm just like, yeah, they messed up with that Budapest part, but they definitely did. And the Taskmaster, it's like, the bad thing is like, I mean, I don't have a problem with it as a female because it's like, you already know why they went with the female route because they were trying to put a whole plot twist to it because the girl was still alive, supposedly. So I can understand why they did that. It's like, but the good thing is, it's like, there were different versions of Taskmaster. Like, you can have somebody, you know what I'm saying, put on the suit and just use the little program and stuff to, like, you know, go off their moves and like that. Like, there could be another, like, I'm trying to remember what was the original dude's name that played the Taskmaster, but they can bring him going forward because, like, they did the same thing with, I'm trying to remember what character was that. It's basically going to be basically like a Mandarin situation, like how they did with Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin, like how they got the real Mandarin now with Shang-Chi. They going to most likely do that with this Taskmaster, obviously, most likely.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what I feel like what they're doing, what Marvel doing, they're just basically trying to play safe just in case something goes wrong. Like we saying with this Taskmaster character, it's like they obviously see they messed up with this, even though it plays a good plot twist to it, but they knowing that these fans know these characters. Like there's really comic book fans that really invest in these characters. Like so, it's like you know when they complain about that, bro, they want to at least get things right, at least, bro. So I'm like, I know they're gonna definitely fix that up.
And that's kind of what I was looking at too. Okay, and first of all, it's not Budapest; it's Budapest.
Budapest.
Okay, she did say it. It's Budapest.
Budapest.
But what I did like about them talking about Budapest though was the fact that she was like, you know, just like Budapest all over again, right? And he was like, you and I remember Budapest very differently,
right? Yeah.
And then when you kind of look into this movie now, when her sister was like what are those holes from? 'Cause that's not bullets, and she said
arrows, right?
So that means that he was already probably hunting her down, and then they cooperated with each other so that she could take down, basically the Black Widow area.
Yeah.
And then when she was like, yeah, like me and Barton, like, you know, hit up here for like 2 days. So that means there was something going on where she was like, just like Budapest all over again, because they had to fight their way through it. I would have loved to see a flashback on it. At the same time, I think I would have loved to see the flashback, but I think the reason why they didn't was because they didn't want to take away from the overall message, like kind of like what you were saying, Solo, was the whole thing about like women empowerment, and I think that's why they chose women to do. I think that's why they chose a woman to play Taskmaster, was because it's the whole, like, you know, it's about women empowerment, and it's the fact that even your own father will basically force you to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's I think that was why that was like the overall theming there.
Yeah, that ending was pretty deep at the end. It was kind of like you didn't know what her exactly was gonna be her motive was after she was cured with that antidote. So it was like the fact she kind of just put out there like, is he going? It's kind of like you can see she's been trying to just get away from all this. You know what I'm saying? So so it's like that was a deep part at the end. I do give him that for surely. But it's like you know they're gonna bring that character back, and it's gonna be a dude for surely next time, like, bro. You already know. Like, But that's another thing I was wondering, because now it's like you got Yelena going for it. Now it's like I thought you can use, because now the Black Widow we've been knowing for the last 3 phases, she basically just been an Avenger this whole time and part of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's like, even though we know about the Red and her legend, we know about her dark past and all like that. They already teased about the Red Room and all like that, but we don't necessarily get to see like glimpses of her like in live action. We just seen her just basically doing side missions for Nick Fury this whole time. But now we seeing that Yelena basically has a purpose of why she's going after Hawkeye now. Cause she thinking like he like basically responsible for it, even though we already know what happened. But it's like, you know what I mean, you already know she ain't gonna care. She gonna go after him regardless. Like, especially if she know that it's like if he has, cause she really don't really know what's going on outside of just, you know what I'm saying, just the situation with them. Like, she don't really know about the Stones and like that. So they definitely gotta break that down all like that to her. And I think that's when she gonna switch up. Cause I think she gonna damn near just be I won't say a villain, but she gonna definitely be anti-Reed. Cause she gonna be on the other side. Obviously, she gonna be with Val and all like them. And if you think about it, they already got U.S. Agent. They gonna have Abomination. Cause if I think that's gonna be on the same side as I don't know if that connects to General Ross or like that, but I know for a fact he's gonna be, because he's in the Thunderbolts too, so I know he's gonna play some part in that. And I think it's supposed to be 5 of them all together. I think because if you're gonna bring Yelena, obviously Red Guardian gonna be brought up in it too, because she gonna have some backup, and that's basically her muscle right there. So I'm like, that's already like a full squad right there. You got, my thing is who they gonna go up against. They gonna go up against like the characters we've been seeing like in these shows in terms of the Young Avengers and like Falcon and Bucky and all like that. Like, that's why I was probably thinking like, I don't know sure who they be going up against. Yeah, they'll just have their own like, you know, because eventually they gotta choose sides. They gotta build a team up. They gonna go up against, because I'm gonna be 100. They look OP. I ain't gonna lie. Like, that team, if you got Abomination, you got like, it's funny. It's basically like a second version of the Avengers. It's more of a like an opposite. You know what I'm saying? You got Yelena as the next Black Widow. You got Abomination, basically evil version of Hulk. You got John Walker, which is the second Captain America. It's like you got these different versions of what we've seen before. It's just a whole, basically like an evil version. If you can say like an anti-hero version of it. You know?
Yeah.
So I was
that's the thing, bro. Taskmaster.
We're gonna play that out though.
Yeah. All right. Like, Taskmaster is also a part of Thunderbolts. That's why I was thinking like.
Yep. That's all. Like, that was like, perfect to do that.
And Taskmaster could be like Hawkeye. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I was thinking. Because like, you know, he's a master tactician and, you know, sharpshooter too. So I was just like,
that's all I was wondering. What if because you know the original Taskmaster, he didn't use the program and all like that to take their moves. He actually really studied people's moves he was fighting up against for real. Like, so I was wondering if they was gonna do it like where they bring the male version of Taskmaster. They just have him just try to mimic him like most of the people he's fighting off of. Cause I'm like, it is kind of, you already knew in the Marvel they'll just do it just based off the program and all like that, based on the helmet and all like that. It'll make sense they'll do it in that way, but if they do it like how they do it, it's kind of similar to like how Moon Knight is in a way. Cause like how he got his like alter ego and all like that. That's all I was wondering. Like, I think they were trying to be picky of who they were trying to base off the powers like that. Cause some of them is similar in a way, but you know.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting take in. I mean, like I said, coming from the person who doesn't really read the comics, I can understand just like the, you know, those subtle changes. Like, okay, instead of it being like, you know, somebody was actually studying their moves, it's all about the helmet and helping them out. Kind of like what Stark did against Cap up in Civil War. He was like, okay, let's go ahead and start kicking his ass.
Right.
Yeah. But he was like, you know, study his movement, study his patterns.
Yeah.
Stark is not a fighter.
But that's what made Tony so great, because if you notice in every single movie that Tony was in, he noticed that something, every fight he had, everybody he had, there was something that was off where he had to upgrade it every single movie. It's like every movie he upgraded his suit. It was something like, for instance, like when he was fighting Whiplash, right? And he was basically dealing with the electrocuting problem with his suit. Like, he couldn't have no function over it. And then if you remember in the next film after that was the Avengers, where he upgraded when Thor used his electric tools. I mean, he just pushed it back against Thor. It was like, it seemed like each movie he upgrades his suit from each battle he has. Like, he try to fix every flaw he has in his suit. By the time he got to Endgame, he damn near was invulnerable. But it's like at this point you find a Mad Titan, so it's like that armor ain't gonna really do nothing against him. Like, you fighting like a god at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I like how they built it up, like in terms of like his depth of his suit and all like that, because they really did just build all that up. Because when he started with Mark 1 all the way to I'm trying to remember the name of the suit. It's Mark. I want to say is it 300? It's one of them suits. It's like the silver. It's like silver and red or something like that. But it was like right there. That suit is like every suit he had. Like, to a point he was able to go up against Cap. You know what I'm saying? Because you really knew he couldn't fight to him hand to hand, but it's like he upgrades to a point where it's like he can have Friday let him know about the fight moves and like just let him know like about the abilities where he can block it. You know what I'm saying? Like at first he couldn't do that against Cap, but he upgraded Sue where he could have did that, but it's like it still didn't do nothing because it's like you fight him and Bucky, bro. It was like, but that's why I loved him, bro. Because it's like he was bold, he had heart, bro.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did kill his parents though, so I'm like, I would have went in on him too. But I'm like, bro.
That's why I'm like, gonna do Taskmaster the way they did. It makes sense from that standpoint. Like I said, I don't expect them to go straight from the comics and be like, okay, we're just gonna mimic this whole thing.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. Kevin Feige, this is us right here, okay? If you're watching this, we got you. We understand what you're doing, Kevin Feige. We got you.
For real, bro. I ain't gonna lie. That Taskmaster probably would have been too OP for this Black Widow, because if you look at most of these characters, like, they're definitely toned down from, especially we know from the comics like that, because Natasha is way, way more ruthless, bro. Like, she's just way more of a shiesty type of character. It's to a point where it's like she couldn't be trusted. And, like, in this Avengers movie, it seemed like after, like, the second Avengers movie, it's like people just falling in love with her. The Hulk and Captain America, it was just like, you know what I'm saying? It was like the only person you could say that was on 50-50 with that was Cap in Winter Soldier, but besides that, it's like, you know what I mean? It was to a point where she can't even be trusted because it was like, you didn't know what side she was really on. But it's like, that's why I was wondering, like, with this character, how they was going to build her up with, like, in the phase and like that. It's crazy that they just killed her off like this, but even though it definitely puts a value to it because it is based off the Infinity Gauntlet and all like that, so I'm like,
I'm not gonna lie, because just for them to build up Black Widow, there's actually a cartoon movie that's on Disney Plus. I think it's actually maybe a TV series, and it's like a part where Hawkeye is looking for Natasha, and it's like she's actually on the villain side. She's really not, but it's like she's actually on that side. That's why I was like, even before that, I'm like, I wouldn't really actually put it past her if she was like, okay, I'm only going to help the U.S. with what they're doing to try to get rid of Hydra and everything else. I kind of like, infiltrate them from the inside just to help out my own game, which could have been the Red Room, Because even then, it was like, okay, like that's kind of what my thinking was. But when I actually seen that she actually took down Hydra, I'm like, okay, Hydra is a big level thing. Like that's a huge thing. So for her to actually help take that down, and she actually is exposing who she was, that's when I'm like, okay, no, she has to actually be helping out the Avengers in some kind of way, because there's no way she would be doing it like this, because it would be targeting her as well just to help take it out.
Yeah. I did like how they did like a callback on the end of like,
that's true.
You remember how she was in that, like, how she fell into that little manipulation with Dracoff? How he was basically in that, what's that called? It was called a Paranormal Lock, where it's like if you can get where it's like you can't really put no violence against that person, right? And you remember if you remember in the first Avengers, how she kind of like broke off Loki. It was like she was trying to figure out the scheme, his plan, and all like that. It was like the same thing how she figured out this dude with Draco. It was kind of like, it was like she's trying to find a way to, even though that's always been Natasha Romanoff, like she could always find a way just to break a character, you know what I'm saying, just to break their scheme, their ways, like. So I definitely like how they kept her, like, in terms of that part of Natasha up in there, because like, that's what she made so much value to the Avengers, because it's like people can't really find that way about her. Usually a person like Tony or like Cap, you know what I'm saying, they'll be just trying to, try to feel like they gadgets or they powder. With her, it's like she really used mind control for real. It's like mentally, you know what I mean? So I definitely like how they definitely did that with Natasha, because, bro, I'm gonna be honest, the villain on here, what's his name, Dracoff, he was different. I ain't gonna lie, for him to be the villain, it definitely made sense, bro, because at first I'm like, who is this dude from The Sopranos? At first I was kind of like, he had me thrown off for a minute, but like you said when you was bringing up like human trafficking and all like that, and how they were trying to, especially if you look at the Red Room in general, it's like it's obviously they're abusing these little girls, bro, in this Red Room, bro. It's like, so it's like he definitely was a good villain. They clearly had to kill him off, because clearly he was a pedophile. So I'm like, they clearly had to kill this dude off. So I'm like, for him to be a villain, it definitely wasn't bad, but it's like for him to, I think that was trying to do, just build that whole plot twist. The fact that his daughter was still alive, because if you think about it, Natasha thought him and the girl was basically dead this whole time, even though she still must know that it was still some people from the Red Room had to be around. That's why it's kind of like, that's why Yelena was mad at Natasha for that, because it's like, if you knew about these people that based off this Hydra and all like that, you should know about your past based off the Red Room and all like that. You was basically trying to escape from that, so I felt like Yelena definitely had a point for that, because this whole time it was like, I know Natasha must have some type of past or family that's out there. It's like, we already seen most of that with most of the other Avengers, but what about her? It's like she was trying to escape from that so much. It's like, but now we get to see why she was trying to escape from that so bad, and that's why people hated the what's his name, the Red Guardian character, because it's like, you supposed to be the father figure, and you say all this stuff that she's basically trying to escape from, you're like putting it back into her. So it was kind of like, it made perfect sense why like Natasha was just hella just pissed off just hearing what he was saying. Like, you got teeth in your ledger again. You're both killers. You're both what? Like she basically trying to escape from this whole point of her becoming an Avenger. Like, I'm like, they definitely did on point for that, because I didn't even think Red Guardian was gonna be like that type of like character. Like, to a point it was like, damn, this dude had no type of sense at all, bro. Like,
can I just say? Can I just say Melina, the actor, Rachel Weisz?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. For me to see her go from The Mummy and The Mummy Returns to being in Black Widow with the accents and everything, like, great actor.
Yeah.
Because she was very believable from start to finish. Yep. Very believable. I was like, okay. Like, dang, she gonna really do these to these girls, though. But then she was like, nah, we actually did have a family bond, so I'm gonna go ahead and help you out. You know, that's why I was like, yo, Melina, like, you know, they all played a part, but Melina, the fact that she, like, how she had to basically rise up in the ranks to even really infiltrate it, I'm like, wow, like, she was really with it.
I ain't gonna lie, I was really like, I ain't gonna lie, like, when she was like, she was like, the Red Room will be here any moment. I was like, dang, she really just betrayed them like that. Like, I was like, dang.
I was wondering if she was gonna be, because I was wondering if she was gonna be the villain.
Widow, like, what happened?
Right. I was wondering if she was gonna actually be either, because they kind of was teasing that Taskmaster could have been a female. So it was like, because it's like, you don't really know in terms of who's under the mask. You know what I'm saying? It could be anybody. So it's like, and then if it's under a Red Room that's basically surrounded by women, like, you'll know that it could possibly be a woman up under here too. It's just like that special person, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, I figured it was like, even when the movie first started, I was like Taskmaster gonna be some female. I was like, I don't know who it is, but I feel it's gonna be female. And then
I thought it was
sense
gonna
who
be
the female was. First. You know, it did make sense. I'm glad it wasn't just some random like Black Widow who was like some like super soldier under. You know what I'm saying? But like, it made sense. I'm like, oh damn, like this is who you thought you killed on accident years ago. You know, it makes sense. Yeah.
My thing is how they gonna use the Melina character going forward, because I know they're gonna just use her for this movie. It's like, I know she has to play some type of part going forward. Like, I don't know if like she'll probably play like an appearance in like a Hawkeye show, or if they'll do
probably like Intel.
Yeah, that's what I was probably thinking.
Like Intel for Yelena.
Yeah, that's what I was probably thinking too. Like, she'll play like a cameo or something like that.
I can kind of see her playing the role of bringing the Red Room back, but she's gonna do it her own way.
Yeah,
but she didn't have to get the top. She didn't have to get the top dog out. I think that's kind of how she's gonna play it.
Yeah,
bro. I definitely did like her, but I feel like out of all the new, I ain't gonna, as much as people was saying, I actually did. Even though he's definitely what I didn't expect him to be, but him as Red Guard, I did like him. But I know him going forward, I know people for a fact gonna like him more, especially when you know he gonna be teaming up with the other basic anti-heroes of this, especially if you see him with John Walker. It's like, to see he gonna be being around somebody where they got a shield again. It's like, I definitely see how the interaction gonna be between them two. Like, that would be probably be funny.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I definitely want to see how I feel like that's what they was basically just using him for. It's like, eventually we're gonna probably put him like in the Thunderbolts or something like that, because it's like, it just seemed like he's perfect to team up with somebody. Like, he just that type of character. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they'll just save him just for that. But in terms for Yelena, she's definitely gonna be the new Black Widow. I feel like that was this whole movie was just like focused on her, even though this was Natasha's movie. But she just seemed like she seemed like she stole every scene, bro. It seemed like
especially with that whole superhero landing.
Right, yeah, it was like, then if you can see, she was basically trying to mimic everything Natasha do, so it was just, eventually, you could tell she gonna take the mantle eventually. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like that superhero landing she did, even though she didn't like it. I was like, yo, like she really trying to be Black Widow now.
Like, she'll probably try to make her own little version of her superhero landing, like, cause it seemed like each hero in Avengers got their own superhero landing. It seemed like it's to a point where Deadpool just teasing it at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like,
All right.
I was about to say, did y'all see the
Man.
little what's it called with him and Korg doing a little reaction to the movie? Yeah. So they trying to say he most likely gonna be. I don't know how they gonna introduce him though. That's why, cause it's like with Deadpool, you can introduce him any way, to be honest, cause he's such a goofy character. You know what I'm saying? You can find any way to introduce him in.